Hello and welcome to the first tutorial in this series. And in this series we're going to learn how to create exterior renderings of a villa building, this one. In the first tutorial we're going to create a 3D model of the building itself, and in the next tutorials we're going to add the environment and rendering and other things. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is open the plan, which is in the description below. This plan I got from an architect, so I'm going to use it in order to create a 3D model. Now the plan is pretty decent and not cluttered, so I don't need to fix anything. I don't need to delete any lines or things like that. This actually looks very clean. So let's get started. Next, I'm going to go into 3D Studio Max and I'm going to import the plan here. So if you followed my interior room creation tutorial, this is essentially the same. I'm going to go into Max, import, double click on the file, the DWG, the AutoCAD file, and make sure everything is like it is here, and just click OK. So this is great, we imported the plan. I'm going to maximize the viewport because I 99% of the time prefer to use only one viewport and not several, because I have more real estate on screen. Now what I want to do is to select all the lines I imported and group them into a group named plan. So in order to do this, I'm going to check a few things. First of all, I'm going to click anywhere on screen and unhide all to make sure that lines are not hidden from AutoCAD, because sometimes when I import something from AutoCAD, the lines are hidden. So I'm going to unhide all, which will make sure nothing is hidden, and unfreeze all, which will make sure nothing is frozen. Next thing I want to do is select all the layers. So I'm going here into Manage Layers, and I'm going to select all. Let's close this up. Now everything is selected. I'm going to group this into Plan. Great. Now I'm going to go to Front Viewport, and I'm going to make sure it has no height, so it is perfectly flat. Now it looks very flat, but I can't know for sure, because sometimes when I get really close you have some kind of thickness like here, you see. Now in order to fix this, what I'm going to do, in order to make sure everything is perfectly flat, is I'm going to left click and hold on this select and uniform scale, and I'm going to click on the second one. What this does is select a non-uniform scale. What this means is I can make the z-axis smaller, I can shrink it, or the y-axis or the x-axis without shrinking everything, which is great. Now I want to shrink the z-axis. You can see this is the z-axis, the height, into 0, which is flat. So I'm going to right click on this, and the z-axis I'm going to give it a value of 0. Now this is perfectly flat. You didn't see any movement because it was flat already, but sometimes when you import from AutoCAD, some things have height, and then when you start drawing lines on top of this in the top viewport, then your walls will be all over the place. So you need to make sure it is perfectly flat, which we did now. Now I'm going to move the whole plan into 0, 0, 0, using my select and move tool and the X, Y, and Z here. So I moved everything to 0. I'm going to go to top viewport, and now I'm going to click G to hide the grid, and I'm going to start building the walls. So this is the plan goes like this. This is the basement level, this is the first floor, this is the second floor, this is the roof. We have a cross section of our building here, and we have the front, the back, the left and the right sides here. So we have all the information we will need. We have the height information here, so we know what height the windows are, and you have the information from the top here, from all the levels. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build the walls for our basement. In order to do this, I'm going to do the same exact thing I did in the interior room modeling tutorial. I'm going to create lines, but this time I'm going to create lines of the exterior part of the walls, because this is an exterior visualization. Sorry, that's a difficult and long word. In order to create the lines exactly like they are in the plan, I'm going to use the snap toggle tool. I'm going to right click and make sure only this one is clicked, and I'm going to make sure in the options we have enable axis constraints. Now if I click line, I will click the snap toggle tool. I can create lines on the wall. So I'm just drawing the lines on the lines that are already existent. So every place that there is an opening, like a window or a door, I'm going to make a point. You will understand why in a second. So point here, here. We have two windows here, the kitchen and the bathroom. We have this wall here, and you don't need to put a point here because the wall just continues. There is nothing here. This line means nothing. Now I'm going to put a point here. Close spline, no. The reason it showed me this is because I was very close. So sometimes it says like an error or something. I'm going to no. Okay, I'm going to place the dot here. So this is the window. It will begin from this point, which is fine. And here, no. One here. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to fix it later if we need to. No. And one here, here. We have a window here, so one dot, two dots, door, another window, and we're going to close spline now, yes. So this spline is a closed one. We had some kind, we're going to go to the top and just click on modify and vertices. We have one vertex that was not in place somewhere here, so I'm going to fix that. Here, it needs to be in this place. So I'm going to take this vertex on the y-axis only and click it here. Alright, so this is fine. I'm going to uncheck the snap toggle and let's go to the perspective viewport. Next thing I'm going to do is right click while the line I just created is selected, convert to editable poly. So now if I hit F3, I can see I was in wireframe, that's why I didn't see the floor before. F3 goes to realistic. Now I can see we have a floor here, but the floor is not right because the floor starts from the interior of the house. We have a floor that starts from the exterior. But the reason we created this, it's not for the floor, it's to take lines up for the wall, so this is fine. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to choose the borders and I'm going to shift drag them up in order to create the walls. Now you have some kind of shadow here, as you can see. It's bothering me a little, so I'm going to click here and do shaded, not realistic. Now we don't have shadows. So we have the exterior walls of our basement. I'm going to delete the polygon which represents the floor because we don't need it anymore. We just created it for the walls. I'm going to select all the walls. And as you can see, the polygons are inverted. The inside, the polygon itself is looking in, and we need it to look out because these are the outer walls. So I'm going to select everything and flip. Now the polygons are looking out. The darker ones are the back side of a polygon. So this is the polygon itself. They are looking out. This is great. Now if I click F3, you can see you have windows, doors here, and some windows here, and doors and windows here. we don't know the height of these windows from the plan itself. In order to know the height, we're going to go to the top viewport, and we're going to check out these front views. So here you can see two windows, a door. I'm going to take a piece of paper and just write the measurements. Okay, I took a piece of paper and I'm going to write the measurements of the height. So we have the height of this first window. I'm going to create a box to see the height. This is the floor of our basement. So I'm going to begin from here. This is the bottom part of the window. So this is the end of our box. As you can see, the length or the height of our window is 100 centimeters. So window 1 begins from 100 and ends, let's delete this box and create another one, from the floor to the top side of the window. Ends at 220. So it's 100 to 220. I'm going to delete this box. As you can see, the door is exactly the same height as the window, so door 1 begins at 0 and ends at 220. This is this door. The next one is this window. The end is 220. As you can see, it's the same height. So window 2 begins at, let's make a box from 0 to the beginning of the window. So this is 115. 115 is fine. So the second window starts at 115 and ends at 220. Alright, so now we have the windows and the door. If we go back in the perspective viewport to our plan, to the first plan here at the basement, you can see that you have two windows and a door. So these are the windows and the door here. The left window begins at 100 and ends at 220. The right window begins at 115 and ends at 220. And the door just ends at 220. So now we're going to go to the front viewport. And I'm going to create lines that represent the beginning and the end of the window. So the first box I'm going to create here from 0, it doesn't even matter because I'm going to move it, will have a height of 220. This is the height of the window and the doors. To snap it to the 0 axis, to the floor, I'm going to use the snap toggle. And on the Y axis, I'm going to take this point and snap it to 0. So this is the height of the top part of the windows and the door. I'm going to shift drag this box and I'm going to change its parameters to 100. I'm going to move it down here and inside. So this box represents the bottom part of window number 1, 100 height. And shift drag here, another one. This will be 115. This is the bottom part of our second, the right window. I'm going to move it to 0. So now you have boxes here, which represents the height, and you have the walls. If I go back to the front viewport and I choose this editable poly, the walls, I'm going to choose the vertices and slice plane. So now I'm going to slice the plane at 100, slice plane at 115, slice, and slice plane at 220, slice. Alright, so now we sliced our editable poly in the height that we need for the windows and for the door. I'm going to delete these boxes. Very important to delete them because each measurement I'm going to create a box, and if you don't delete them you will have like 100 boxes at the end, so you don't need them. I'm going to delete, F3 to see through, and now I'm going to choose this editable poly. I'm going to go to polygons, deselect everything, and I'm going to go to select objects, because if I'm in move I can by mistake move something, which is not good. I'm going to go to select objects and I'm going to select 1 polygon, 2 and 3 for the door, because this line represents the 220, the top part of the door. The left window started at 100, so I'm going to control click here and here. This line represents 100, this line 220, and the right window started from 115, so this line is representing of the right window. Okay? Now, this is a mirror image. This building is essentially the same on both sides, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these polygons also. Control, select 1, 2, 3. This window is 115, the beginning, and this one 110. 1, not 110. So I selected the windows and the doors. Now I'm going to go to the top viewport, go back to our basement plan, and I'm going to click settings on extrude. Now this extrudes this out or in. I need to extrude this in by minus 20 centimeters, which is exactly right. As you can see, the wall is 20 centimeters, and hit OK. And now if I go to the perspective viewport, I can see that the windows and the door were created, and I'm going to hit delete to delete these polygons from the door and the windows. So great, now we have this section with the right height. Next one we're going to do is, if I hit F3, I can see wireframe. There's a window here, window here. Same thing on the, no, you don't have these windows on the other side because you have a different topology here or something. So you have the windows only on this side. Now if I go to the top viewport and we'll go to our sides, you can see that the windows are here. So in order to take their height from the beginning and from the end, I'm going to create a box like we did before from the floor, unsnap from the floor to this height, to the top height. The top height here is about 245. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but it's something like 245, maybe 246. To move it so that the floor is zeroed out, and 246 is fine. So the top height of our window here is 246. I'm going to write this down. Window 3, 246. It's the height. And the bottom part, I'm going to delete this box and create another one. The bottom part is 206. So it's from 206 to 246 centimeters. The other window is exactly the same in height. So it begins at 206 and ends at 246. I'm going to delete this box. Let's go in the perspective viewport back to our basement. And I'm going to go to the front viewport, and I'm going to build a box from 206. I'm going to build a box here, 206, and I'm going to move it, snap toggle on. I'm going to move it on the y-axis using this point of reference to the floor. So this is the height, 206, the height of the beginning of the window. And I'm going to shift drag, create another box, and make it 246 high. Move it on the y-axis using this constraint on the floor. And I'm going to create slices for these windows in this editable poly. Let's call it walls, basement. Great. Now slice plane. Let's move this plane here, and I'm going to slice this one down here, the 206, and slice this one up here, 246. So now there are two boxes. Let's move them forward for a second for reference purposes. I'm going to unsnap this, move them here, and you can see in the walls where the lines are crossing. So we have two windows here. The first one in this line, I'm going to select it, 1, 2, because it starts in 206 and finishes at 246. And the other one is here, the bathroom. Again, control, click here and here. So now we have both of these windows selected. They are very high windows. That's because this is a basement. There's essentially ground here. so it's inside the ground, so the height is fine. I'm going to extrude it like we did with these ones in the top viewport. Extrude it 20, that's fine, the wall is 20. And now I'm going to delete these polygons. So now we have the windows created. I'm going to delete this helper boxes. This is great. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create openings here for this window and for this window. So we need to know the heights of these windows the same way we knew these ones. I'm going to go to the top viewport. I'm going to go to the sides here. And here we have a little problem because there is a side showing the windows and the doors of our basement windows, but in the front viewport or the back, the windows we're talking about are these ones. You can't see them because they're inside the ground, so I don't know the beginning height of my window. Maybe you have this information here in the cross section. Let's see. Yes, this cross section is telling us essentially the height of our windows. This is the window we're talking about. Because as you can see, there are stairs going down here, and there's a room with a window. In the section, you can see the stairs going down here and a room with a window. So this is the right window. Now we can take the measurements and apply them in our height of the windows. So I'm going to create a box from the floor, this is the floor, to the beginning of the window, this is the beginning of the window. It's 102. So the beginning of the window, I'm going to write this down, window 4, 102 is the bottom part, and delete this, and again, 206 is the top part of the window, 205 maybe. 205. Alright, so 205 is the top of the window. This is fine. Now I'm going to go to the perspective viewport, go back to our plan here, and I'm going to go to the front viewport, and then I'm going to rotate my building using this helper to the right, because the windows are at the right. I'm going to create slices of the height we need. So our window begins at 102. I'm going to create a box from 0 to 102. I'm going to snap toggle on and move on the y-axis using this point here. So 102, this is the beginning of our window. As you can see, we have a line here at 1, which is close enough. In 3D visualizations, if you don't really zoom into the window, you can't see this 2 centimeters difference, so I'm going to leave this on this line. This is fine. The other line will be at 206. The top part of the window is 206, and I'm going to snap it here. We have a 206 already. So if I go to perspective viewport, and I'm going to move this, let's snap toggle off, move this all the way to our basement, oh, the other way, sorry, here. I'm going to move it here. And we can create the windows themselves. I'm going to choose this walls basement. I'm going to F3 to see transparent of the window. I'm going to choose this one and this one. So it starts at 1 and ends at 206. This is the first window. This is the second window. All right. First window, the second window is here. As you can see, both windows are fine, and we can extrude them inwards like so. See in the top viewport. 20 centimeters is too low because this wall is reinforced. We need to make it -30, like so. This wall is 30 centimeters, which is fine. And let's go to the perspective viewport and delete these. So this is our windows. These are our windows. We essentially created all of the windows and the doors in the basement. I can delete this guy here. This is fine. Let's go to the top viewport. If I press F3, you can see that the windows are not actually beginning from here. They're beginning from here. This is a reinforced, like a steel plates. So we need to make the windows smaller. I'm going to select the walls basement and move these points using the snap toggle to here. This is the beginning of our window, and this one to here. And the same thing with this window, because they're the same. And here to here. So this is fine. In the perspective viewport you can see, right, we have all the windows of the basement. Last thing I want to know is the height of the end of our exterior wall for the basement. Where does this wall end at height? So if I go to the top viewport and I go to the front sides again, I can see that the bottom of our floor is here. The floor of the first, this is the floor of our basement. This is the floor of our first floor. So in order to know what height this floor is, I'm going to unsnap this, create a box this high. So this is 290 centimeters. Yeah, 290 is fine, maybe, yeah. Is the height from the floor of our basement to the floor of our first floor. And this is the height I want for my walls. So 290 is the height of our walls. I'm going to go back perspective. And I'm going to go to front viewport. Let's create a box 290. Let's place this box down here on the y-axis using this constraint here. And I'm going to take all of my polygons from up here and snap them on the y-axis to this height, to 290. So great, now we have our exterior walls of the basement. Next thing I'm going to create is the interior walls of our basement, because I'm going to create the interior not 100% accurate, but very close, because when you look from the exterior to the interior, sometimes you can see walls or things inside. So if the inside is totally vacant and there's nothing inside there, you could have problems with something doesn't look right for the eye. So I'm going to create like an outline of the interior of the house. So if I look from this direction, you can see like walls or something inside. In order to create this interior of the house, what I'm going to do is going to go to the top viewport. I'm going to select the walls basement and hide them, hide selection. What I did is selected the wall basement, right click, hide selection. So it hides what I just selected. And I'm going to create lines for the interior of our house. Exact same way I created the exterior. So snap toggle is on, and I'm going to go through the interior lines. We don't need this line. You know what? Yeah, we do. This line separates between the two houses. There are like two houses which are a mirror image of one another. So I'm going to create like two interiors. This is not important for us. Remember, we created this only for the small portions in the windows. So we don't need to create all the details inside, like elevators and glass walls and things like that. Only the walls. So I'm going to go over the walls here. No. I'm going to create a point here. And here. Like so. This is the washroom. Let's say, yeah, let's go over these lines here. This is an interior wall, which is fine. I don't need to create all the bathrooms and things like that, only the walls. And a window here, and a door here, and close. So this is the outline of this side of the house. Now the other one. I'm going to create this. We just created like something's wrong with this line. We're going to fix this after we finish with this wall. So I'm going to do this. There's a wall here, right? There's a window here, and a wall here, walls here, and there's a window here. Snap this to the walls. No, don't need to close it yet. Here, here, and these points here. Just going over the lines. And yes, close spline, yes. So now we closed both splines of the interior of the house. What I'm going to do is unsnap toggle. I'm going to choose, no, I'm still creating lines, sorry. Again, I'm going to choose this line we just created. I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to hide this plan because it's a little bit overlapping. So I'm going to choose the plan, hide selection. Now we have this line and this line. I'm going to connect them. Connect this line, attach here. This is fine. And now I'm going to convert it to editable poly. Let's unhide everything. As you can see, we have the floor of the interior now because we created the walls like they are in the plan. I'm going to hide this again, the plan again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the border here and control choose this border. Now we have all the borders of this form. I'm going to click on snap toggle and I'm going to shift drag up to the height of the window, the first one. Then I'm going to shift drag up to the height of this window. Shift drag up to the height of the end of the window and the doors. And shift drag up another one to the end of the height. This is great. We created the interior walls now and the floor, which is fine. Now we need to cut. Oh, we have a problem here we didn't fix. You remember the line that was crooked? So we didn't fix that, so it created something like a strange form. Let's fix it now. I'm going to select, and I'm going to isolate this form, the interior walls. Isolate them. And I'm going to choose all these lines. So 1, Control 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to click loop, so this will select all the lines in these lines. I'm going to Control click on vertices. This will select all the vertices that touch the lines we selected. Now I'm going to go back to Edge, hit backspace to delete the lines, go back to vertice because the vertices are not deleted yet, but they are selected. I'm going to backspace delete them. And now I'm going to unisolate everything. So now it's fine, it's fixed, everything is straight. Alright, now I can select our windows and just create holes in our interior walls. So I'm going to select this window, this one here and here. Everything that is overlapping the holes. So now we have another line here which I by mistake deleted, so let's create it first. I'm going to go to edges, I'm going to select this edge, going to click ring, which will select all the edges 90 degrees to it. So it's like this one, this one, this one, this one, every one. And now I'm going to connect and V. Now we have a line here. We need to place this line on this line because this is the line of our window. So I'm going to move while the snap toggle is on to this line here. Great. I'm going to go back to polygon. I'm going to select this polygon for the window. which is great. The polygons are facing inwards, which is good because these are interior walls. I selected this, now I'm going to delete it. We have openings. I'm going to select these two, select object, unsnap toggle, select 1 and 2. As you can see, we have a problem here. We don't have the line of the top of this window and also this one. So let's leave it for now. Let's go to these windows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and delete. Have these windows, which is great. Now there's a problem with these lines in here. But first, I'm going to fix this. We don't have a line for the top of the window and for the bottom of the window. Same here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line for the top and from the bottom. I'm going to create one, Control select 2, and I'm going to connect, which will create one line. Now I'm going to move this line down using the snap toggle to this line here. Great, we have a line for the top of the window. Same thing I'm going to do here. Control select, connect, and move up here. And now I can select 1, delete, 2, delete. We have a window. Same thing here. I'm going to select this edge, connect them. I'm going to move this connected here. I'm going to select this edge and connect them, and move this connection here. And now let's delete 1 polygon, 2 polygons. We have a window. Great. Next window is this one. You can see that the lines of the sides of the window are not exactly in place, so I'm going to move them. I'm going to select this edge, loop, which selected all the edges from this edge forward. And I'm going to move on the y-axis to this point. Same thing here, loop, move here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create, select this, connect, and create the top of the window here. And now I can delete 1, 2, we have a window. And the same thing here, I'm going to select 1, loop, move it here, 1, loop, move it here, 1, 2, connect, move it up here. Now I'm going to select 1, delete, 2, delete, and we have the final window. Great, now we have the interior of our basement and the exterior of our basement. Next thing I want to do is I want to align the height of the interior of the basement, because as you remember, I'm going to unhide everything. As you remember, if I go to the top viewport and I look here in the front viewport, what we did, the outer walls of our basement are the same height at the floor as the floor of the first floor. So the height of our outer walls is from 0 to 290 to here. But the inner walls go only up to here, up to the ceiling of our basement level. So we need to know what this height is. I'm going to create a box to see from here to this height. So this is 250. What this means is that in the basement, from the floor to the ceiling of the basement itself, you have 250 centimeters. So let's go to the front viewport. Let's create a box from the 0 to 250. Let's give it a value of 250. I'm going to move it with a snap-on the y-axis to the 0. And I'm going to take, this is the line, it's called line, but it's the interior walls, so I'm going to change the name to interior basement walls, and this is exterior wall basement. So interior basement walls, when I choose it, I go to vertices. I'm going to take all the vertices up here to this height, to 250, which is the height of the basement ceiling. Now that's great. Let's delete this box of reference. and let's see what's going on here. So now we have the exterior walls are higher. When I build the first floor and I will combine the two, you will understand why this needs to be higher than the interior. But for now, this is fine. I just choose this. Now I'm going to create the ceiling of our basement. Now there are stairs here, but we don't need to build the stairs because, again, we don't need many details from the interior. We need just essential details like walls. So if you see inside, you can see walls and things like that, but you don't need to focus or create the stairs unless you're creating a visualization of the interior, which we are not at this point. What I am going to do is create a ceiling for this basement level. So I'm going to choose this border here and control choose this border here and cap them. This will create the ceiling of our basement level. So if you look from the windows and doors, you can see that our basement level is done. It's built. And now I'm going to select the interior and the exterior. I'm going to give it a random material, a base material. For now, for the viewport it's not viewer, it's just standard. I'm going to assign material to selected. I selected the both of them. And I'm going to change the outline color to black. The reason I did this is because looking at this way is much easier for me, at least. So this is like a gray material with black lines. It's much easier to see the outline of the windows and the doors like this. Alright, so this tutorial is already long. It's 41 minutes. I'm going to finish now. In the next tutorial, I'm going to build the first floor and connect it with the basement floor, and then create the second floor and connect it with the basement floor also. If we have time in the next tutorial, I'm also going to create this roof connected with the basement floor, with the second floor, and then you will have the whole building essentially, and we will start adding materials to it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.